Good morning, everyone. Hi. Thank you all for coming back to Lehigh for Reunion 2026. I hope you're having a fantastic experience so far. And thank goodness the weather is so much better today. Yesterday was a little bit brutal. My name is Carol Packard. I'm Lehigh's Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations. And I hope that you all have enjoyed your experiences so far this weekend. Reunion is a time when we can see, feel, and hear Lehigh's community in action. As you attend events and share memories and tour some of the newer additions to campus, please recognize that it is your community, Lehigh alumni, friends, and families, that inspires so much of our progress. Today, you will hear from President Joe Helble, class of 1982, about some of the incredible momentum and progress this institution is making. Joe started his tenure at Lehigh in 2021, and under Joe's leadership, Lehigh embarked on an ambitious strategy, inspiring the future makers. Since its launch at Reunion in 2023, Lehigh has made great strides toward bold goals to lead in student outcomes, expand its commitment to deeply interdisciplinary education, double research activity, and ensure a sense of belonging for all members of the Lehigh community. Joe holds a BS in chemical engineering from Lehigh and a PhD in chemical engineering from MIT. Please welcome President Joe Helble.
Thank you, Carol. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? This reminds me of, I think it was Math 21 I had in this room, and we were arrayed kind of like this. Shockingly, when I was a student, we did not all sit right in the front row. But this room is the first time I stood here and had the opportunity to speak to the Lehigh community as president. There was an intense moment of deja vu because it was Math 21 that came flooding back. So great to have all of you here this morning. Oh, as Carol said, 5 years ago, I had the privilege of being inaugurated as Lehigh's 15th president, the first alumnus in more than a century to hold this role. And at that ceremony, at that inauguration ceremony that took place outside in Tamerlane Courtyard, outside the Roush Business School and the Zollner Performing Arts Center, neither of which were here when I was a student. That, of course, was the field of Taylor Stadium when I was a student. A graduate student speaker, a doctoral student in the College of Education, Katia Hilton Fraser was her name, held up a sign that simply said, "Welcome home, President Helble." And that touched me in that moment. And that sign, I asked her for it afterwards, and that sign is now framed and hanging in my office. And it's something I look at every day. It is a daily reminder to me of what this university means to me and what I hope it means to all of us. And so to all of you who are back here today and to the alumni who are joining us by live stream, thank you for showing up. Thank you for keeping engaged with Lehigh. And to all of you, welcome home. Let me also thank our reunion committee members, the LUA board, the Young Alumni Council, and all the volunteers. How about a round of applause for all the volunteers who've made this weekend possible? And a particular round of applause for the volunteers who, as Carol said, arranged the weather today. It will be a fabulous parade of classes early this afternoon. Now, a large part of this weekend is to reminisce, to walk familiar paths, see familiar buildings, share familiar stories with familiar faces, and remind ourselves that, yes, South Mountain really is just as steep of a climb as we remember it being. I have from time to time had alumni at Reunion ask me if we've moved the buildings farther apart or changed the pitch of the mountain. We have not, but it feels that way to me sometimes as well. But our goal today, my goal today, is not so much to reminisce, but it's to share a perspective on where Lehigh, where our university is today, and where we're heading. Now, in starting, let me say that it's no secret that these are challenging times for higher education in this country. The public and politicians are questioning the cost of higher education, asking important questions about outcomes, return on investment, access, and affordability. They're asking questions about intellectual diversity and whether honest, respectful disagreement and debate can still take place on a university campus. And they're asking questions about financial sustainability, particularly in the face of the so-called demographic cliff, where high school graduating student numbers peaked last year and are projected to decline by 10% over the next decade, back to levels that we had seen in 2013. So in the face of all of this, if you read the headlines online or does anyone still receive a print newspaper? Show of hands. Great, thank you. Please note, including our provost, those of us still read print newspapers. If you read the headlines, it's no surprise to get a sense that higher education is challenged and that in some sectors, higher education institutions are really focused on surviving till tomorrow. And I provide this as context because I want you to hear from me clearly and unequivocally that Lehigh is thriving, that this is our moment, that we are in an extraordinarily strong position. And I hope some of what I will say this morning, if you are not already convinced of that, will give you a sense of all the exciting things that our faculty and staff are doing with our students in the ways in which this community is thriving on every dimension. It's not an accident. We have a vision, we have a strategy, and we are being very intentional in executing it. So as Carol said in introducing me, in 2023, we launched Inspiring the Future Makers, Lehigh's strategy. It is printed in this document. You can't see, I don't think, from where you're sitting, how dog-eared and worn this is. I carry this with me everywhere and hold it up from the podium almost everywhere because it is an important reminder that we have a plan and we are focused on executing the plan. I promised the campus when we went through the strategic planning process that this would not be a document that sat on a shelf and was forgotten, that we'd focus relentlessly on implementation and use this as a guide for our decisions for as long as a decade. And through the leadership of our provost, Nathan Urban, who's here with us, having finished reading his print copy of the newspaper earlier this morning, our deans, our vice president of strategy, and the entire leadership team, we are focused relentlessly on execution. Now, first, we made a commitment to be outcomes focused. And what does that mean? Graduation rates and placement rates, put simply, and to be among the national leaders. Lehigh has consistently had first-year retention rates in the 90s in comparison to a national private college average that today is in the low 80s. This past year, our retention rate was 94%, and we are pushing towards our goal of 95% for that first-year class. In terms of placement, 92% of last year's graduating class were employed 6 months after graduation or attending graduate programs or otherwise placed. Impressive in the face of reports of reduced hiring and job growth this last cycle, and indicative of the true value of a Lehigh education. That's what you see in outcomes-based rankings like the Wall Street Journal that for the past 3 years have ranked us as among the nation's very best institutions of higher education. Second, you can applaud for that, right? Right? We are alumni. I hope you're aware of that, and rankings are rankings, but given their focus on outcomes, I hope that's something of which we are all very proud. Second, we made a commitment to be deeply interdisciplinary in our educational programs, and many of you know our inter-college programs, the Integrated Degree Between Business and Engineering, or IBE, CSB, the Computer Science and Business Joint Program, or IDEAS, the Integrated Degree in Engineering and Arts and Sciences. We made a commitment at the time of the strategy to grow them, and we have, by roughly 50% above their prior caps, giving more deeply, even radically interdisciplinary opportunities to our students. We also made a commitment to create new programs, and we have. Like the IBH program, the Intercollege Program Integrated Degree Between Business and Health, for students who are interested in understanding the business of healthcare delivery and systems, which we implemented with the first class this year. Also new this year, Explore Lehigh, a program that admits students without college designation and in a structured way gives them a semester to explore all 4 of our undergraduate colleges, helping them make more informed academic choices. This was the first year that was available to students applying to Lehigh as a choice in their application, and more than 400 students applied for just 30 slots in this 3-year pilot program. Now, please recognize how distinctive this program is, taking what's essentially a liberal arts approach to the entire university curriculum, inclusive of engineering, inclusive of business, inclusive of health, and of course, inclusive of arts and sciences, and giving them the flexibility to gain exposure to all of it and choose any direction they wish to pursue. Thank you. Right. Part of the privilege of being an alumnus and being president is I get to experience the vicarious thrill of overseeing the development or the creation of programs that would have spoken to me as a student. And while I had an outstanding education, to have had that opportunity as the first in my family to go away to college, essentially a first-generation student, to do something that was unimaginable, to explore engineering and business and health and the arts and sciences at the same time, was, I think, giving that to our students today is truly transformative. We're also moving down the path of reimagining our first-year engineering curriculum through FIRE, the first-year Rawson engineering experience, challenging students with interdisciplinary, hands-on, team-based engineering projects in their very first engineering class, real-world applications of engineering fundamentals, a different way to engage them in the engineering curriculum. Dean of Engineering Steve DeWerth is here with us this morning. Many of you had the opportunity to hear from him and from our engineering community yesterday, and I hope you got a sense of how exciting and transformative this is for Lehigh. It's currently a program... Thank you. It's currently a pilot program, but FIRE will grow so that by 2028, our goal is that all first-year engineers will go through the program. And thanks to David Jackson from the class of 67, Patricia Jackson, Suzanne Jackson, and the Suzanne and David Jackson Foundation, we will renovate space in this building in Packard Lab to create the Jackson Laboratory as the home of FIRE through the Jackson's transformative $10 million gift announced earlier this year. Thank you. And thank you to the Jacksons. We're innovating at the graduate level, continuing to develop plans for our doctoral programs that will give all of our students more interdisciplinary breadth in addition to the research depth that they already develop, making them better prepared for a broad range of opportunities post-PhD. And we've made a commitment for our graduates, all of our graduates, to be AI ready, equipped to assess, use, and refine the latest artificial intelligence tools wherever their careers may take them. Some of you had the opportunity to hear a bit about that yesterday in the panel that our provost led with some of our faculty. Thank you for that. I heard it was a great panel, so thank you very much. We've also made a deeper commitment to the arts across the university. You may have heard that earlier this spring, just a few months ago, Lehigh intentionally aligned LUAG, the Lehigh University Art Galleries, the Zollner Performing Arts Center, and the libraries under the leadership of an inaugural Vice Provost for Arts and Libraries, a position that Greg Ryman is our initial holder of. And just a few weeks ago, with the support of Mark Filato, class of 87, and his spouse Pun, we received a $2.5 million gift to create the Mark Filato Executive Directorship of the Zollner Arts Center, providing permanent resources to enable the director to advance Zollner's mission and ambition. This past year, we also celebrated the 100th anniversary of Lehigh University Art Galleries of LUAG with Here and Now, 100 years of LUAG, 100 local artists, deepening our connection with the surrounding community in ways that LUAG and director William Crow do extraordinarily well. LUAG's collection guidebook commemorating this 100th year celebration will launch later this month, distributed through the University of Chicago Press, and there are plans for a launch celebration this fall. So, let's hear it for the arts at Lehigh. Right. Thank you. And third, our Future Makers strategy also made a commitment to expand the impact of our research, double our research support within a decade, and invest in strategic interdisciplinary research through the creation of 3 university research centers. You can read all about it here. We made that commitment 4 years ago. So as we enter our 4th year of implementation, how are we doing? I will tell you. So in FY25, the fiscal year that closed last June 30th, our total sponsored research program expenditures were $59.2 million, up from $40 million in FY21, where they had been without change for a decade. This is remarkable growth in a 4-year period and a testament to the creativity, ideas, and hard work of our faculty, supported by our research staff and with our research staff. And 40 patent applications were filed, up from 31 in FY22. Consistent with this growth in research, last year we celebrated Lehigh's recognition as a Carnegie R1 institution, placing us now in the group with the top 1/3 of research universities nationwide, a total of 187 universities that are the highest performing research universities in the land. Yes, Lehigh has always exemplified outstanding teaching. Yes, Lehigh has always exemplified outstanding research and scholarly work, and this Carnegie R1 designation says that to the world. And thank you. And we completed our commitment to establishing 3 university-wide research centers tackling important interdisciplinary problems of immediate regional significance. ACES, our center that's focused on community electrification solutions, has faculty at the center of issues that are in front of the public for decision-making right now, working on issues related to developing ways to establish more sustainable data centers. And again, you heard a bit about that through one of our leaders in the AI panel that the provost led yesterday. We had a symposium during the fall semester that brought local industry and government parties and partners to Lehigh to discuss the issues and challenges in this very area. CDAT, a center focused on the development of community-driven assistive technologies, is a center focused very much as a partnership of faculty from across this institution, including the College of Education, on developing assistive technologies to enable individuals with disability to navigate transitions in space and in life. In the fall, Lehigh partnered with Good Shepherd Rehabilitation, and by the way, by space I mean in place, not orbiting the planet, but in location. We partnered with Good Shepherd Rehabilitation for impact-driven, community-focused breakthroughs, and they are intensely focused on helping people live better and healthier lives. And the first center, in fact, and a third of 3, but the first one we established, our Center for Catastrophe Modeling, is leading efforts to look at the challenges associated with building, protecting, ensuring, and recovering infrastructure built in areas that are challenged by large-scale catastrophes, whether they potentially be human-driven or weather-related. Growing consortium of 12-plus industry partners are working with Lehigh to build safer, more resilient communities around the globe. And moving beyond research, fourth, we made a commitment to our infrastructure, to advancing Mountaintop, to supporting research infrastructure, and to planning thoughtfully to address campus needs for decades to come. So to that end, last year we released Making the Future, a plan for Lehigh's campus, and you can find details of this on our website, a 30-year vision for the future, the logical next step in implementing the Inspiring the Future Makers strategy. It speaks about spaces and places on Lehigh's 1,600-acre connected campus, from the Packard portion of campus, the historic core, where we sit today, up to Mountaintop and over and beyond to the Goodman section of campus, where most of our athletic and recreational outdoor programs are located. This weekend gives you a chance to explore some of the revitalized spaces on campus that are the heart of this plan. The Clayton University Center at Packard Hall. How many of you have had a chance to walk through? Show of hands. Wonderful. And to those of you who have not yet been there, please visit. You will not recognize the interior spaces from what you remember as a student, I promise you. Last fall, we dedicated its reopening and brought this historic building back to life. This renovation was completed in January of 2025, and I never get tired of telling our communities and our Board of Trustees, internally and externally, that project was completed 5 months ahead of schedule and under budget. So congratulations to the team who managed. Please appreciate how challenging that is to do a core gut renovation and a reimagination of a building that was completed in 1868. Its first core renovation, gut renovation, since the 1950s. And it is extraordinary in how it has come back to life. Forest Park, the wooded spaces on our mountaintop adjacent to our mountaintop buildings in that portion of the campus, we are intentionally bringing back to life the acres that have long been the quiet spaces between campuses. And just 2 months ago, we opened 2 dedicated signposted trails. So they are marked trails for your exploration. You can find them on all trails. And for one of them, we worked very intentionally with the leadership of the city of Bethlehem to make this trail open and accessible to everyone, not just the Lehigh community, but to members of the Bethlehem community and the region as well, deepening our commitment to be a campus that has a resource for the city of Bethlehem and the entire region. And thank you. And lastly, one you may not have heard much about to date, the East Hill Residence Hall project, meeting the growing demand for our students and ensuring a collaborative living environment for our campus. What does that mean in terms of numbers? 371 beds will be developed as part of this new residential community on the hillside between M&M and Drinker on University Drive. Groundbreaking is anticipated by the fall of 2026 or by the end of 2026 with a goal of occupancy by fall of 2028 for the members of the first year class of 2032. So come back for reunion in 2 years between cycle and you will see this nearing completion and taking shape. So 3 years in, it's clear that we're making progress on our Future Maker strategy. And as we do so, we see a growing and deep interest in a Lehigh education, in the Lehigh value proposition. And you can see that in the numbers. For example, let's take a look at the admissions data from the past 2 years. Last fall, we welcomed the class of 2029 as the second largest in Lehigh's history. We're also looking ahead this fall to the entrance of the class of 2030, and this class, which will number more than 1,550 students, will be the largest in Lehigh's history, and it's the result of an admission cycle that saw the largest applicant pool in Lehigh's history. Remember, I mentioned earlier that we were in the first year of the so-called demographic cliff, where the number of high school graduates in this country graduating each year is now declining. This year, Lehigh received a record-breaking 20,447 applications for the class of 2030. Wow, indeed. 6% more than last year. And in fact, over the past 3 years, 24, 25, and for the students entering the class of 26, we have had the 3 largest applicant pools in university history. Now, it's not enough to simply find the brightest students. We have to ensure that once they're admitted, the full reach and breadth of a Lehigh education is within their reach financially, and that's why our commitment to financial aid has never been stronger. That is why those of you who have seen me as I've traveled the country speaking about the importance of raising support for this university have heard me talk about the deep and paramount importance of supporting financial aid. 58% of Lehigh undergraduates receive some form of financial aid. 20% of our students identify as the first in their families to go to college, and 18% are Pell Grant recipients. We also have more students taking advantage of the Lehigh Commitment, something we announced 3 years ago, that offers full tuition grants, charges zero in tuition to students who come from families whose household income is less than $75,000 per year. That supports over 200 members of our current first-year class. And what I love about the Lehigh Commitment is it says to them, particularly to students who are first-gen, who don't know through family experience how to navigate the complexities of the financial aid process and what it means to apply and then receive your offer of aid and award letter, we tell you up front, if this is your family income, our commitment to you is that you will be charged zero in tuition. We want you here as part of the Lehigh community. That to me is such a meaningful commitment of this university to our students, and it's all made possible due to the generous support of our alumni and friends. Go Beyond, the Campaign for Future Makers, our fundraising campaign to support the breadth of activity at Lehigh. this past year crossed the original $1.0 billion threshold and goal and is now at $1.085 billion, well on our way to reaching our $1.25 billion goal. It's a total that already includes over $321 million raised to support scholarships and financial aid. And so much of the support comes from you, our alumni community, which is now nearly 90,000 members strong. You're an alumni community where more than half of you, 53% in fact, have engaged, attended events, networked, made important commitments of time and talent to offer advice, mentor students, and provide your professional expertise. And please know how much of a difference that makes. So thank you all for all that you do for Lehigh in engaging in this way. Now, one of the other foundational goals of our Future Makers strategy is to be a Lehigh for everyone, where we say directly and upfront that everyone is valued, when everyone who is here because of their talents and needs to know that they belong as a member of the Lehigh community. And that we will not only we will not only respect, but we will celebrate difference in all forms. And that also means emphatically being a community where diverse perspectives are respected, where we support and listen to one another. To that end, Lehigh this past year has adopted the so-called Chicago Principles of Free Expression to signify our commitment to open and respectful conversation. And to this end, we also have heard from a broad range of thoughtful speakers, not to inflame, but to engage in conversation. In our Compelling Perspective series this year, a series which some of you I know have attended, we focused on artificial intelligence, welcoming Arianna Huffington, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, and from this stage, U.S. Senator Dave McCormick. Conversations focused on health and wellness, on technology development, and on the benefits and need for government support, regulation, and global competition in the development and use of these tools. This next year, we're considering a range of topics that can bring passion and argument, precisely the reason why a thoughtful university should find a way to lean in. That is exactly why we chose AI as the focus of our conversations this past year. That is exactly why we are committed to continuing this series. Now, those attending the faculty session that our Provost Nathan Urban led yesterday know that we are engaging deeply on the topic of AI, asking employers about their needs, and committing to ensuring that our students are AI ready when they graduate. As an institution, where appropriate, we are also leaning forward, being AI forward. Just 2 months ago, Lehigh partnered with Pennsylvania's 6 other R1 research universities, the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to launch the Keystone AI and Quantum Factory. This first-of-its-kind statewide collaboration is designed to translate university-developed research across these 7 institutions into practical, high-impact solutions for Pennsylvania's core industries, and our collaboration's focus is now on seeking state and federal support for the research. So Lehigh is AI ready, we are AI forward. And when speaking with and of our students, we also want them to be AI thoughtful. As a corporate CEO said to me just a few days ago, they can and should be able to use the tools to help solve a problem, but they also need to be able to explain the solution that they are implementing and explain the reasons why. I spoke about this with our students at commencement this year, urging them to think carefully about AI, both in their work and particularly in their writing, asking them to consider whether the goal is that illusory perfect sentence or perfect email, as if such a thing as perfection exists, or instead to convey meaning, feeling, and intent of who they are and of what they think, to be AI thoughtful in the ways they use these tools. So let me end now with just a few brief comments on some other areas of our institution, and then for the balance of our time, I'm happy to open it up to your questions. Now, first in the area of athletics, as I trust most of you know, it was a pretty good year for Lehigh. In fact, it was an outstanding year for Lehigh. It was the first full year for our new Murray H. Goodman Dean of Athletics, Jeremy Gibson, who's here with us this morning. following on the transformative tenure of a member of our great 50th reunion class, Joe Sterrett, Lehigh 76. And what a legacy they have built, and Jeremy is leading and taking to the next level. This year, fall 2025, we were Patriot League football champions, beating Lafayette to secure that outcome and an undefeated regular season and a second consecutive trip to the second round of the FCS playoffs. This year, men's wrestling were EIWA champions for the second consecutive year, and we had 4 scholar All-Americans and 1 wrestling All-American. And this year saw the inaugural season of women's wrestling as a Division I varsity sport at Lehigh. Yes, and we were NCAA Super Region II champions. We had 7 scholar All-Americans, 4 regional individual champions, 3 All-Americans, 1 national champion, Audrey Jimenez, who in fact was also named Outstanding Wrestler of the NCAA Championship Tournament and was named the National Wrestler of the Year in women's wrestling across all weight classes. Thank you. Audrey deserves a round of applause. What an outstanding young student and athlete she is. This year, 2026, men's basketball won the Patriot League championship and a trip to Dayton in March Madness. And this year, a headline you may not have seen, our men's baseball team had a highlight-worthy 20-run first inning in an April game, which broke a 53-year-old NCAA Division I record. So records matter and wins matter, and they are fun to celebrate, and they bring the community together. But even more importantly, we are ensuring that athletics at Lehigh remain deeply connected to the everyday Lehigh experience, woven into the education and development of all of our students. With Jeremy Gibson, our Dean of Athletics, we're exploring developing a Center for Peak Performance, a program that will integrate athletics training, sports medicine, rehabilitation, nutrition, mental wellness, leadership development with our academic faculty scholarly community, with academic research. And we are remaining deeply committed to our values as among the very few Division I educational institutions that think of our student athletes as students first. Those values are core to the Patriot League. We should be proud of who we are as an institution. Those values are core to the Patriot League experience. Just a few weeks ago, Senators Cruz and Cantwell introduced the bipartisan Protect College Sports Act, a welcome step by Congress to try to bring clarity and consistency to the world of university athletics. The Patriot League presidents quickly agreed to make a public statement, something we had not done on any other issue in my 5 years as president. A reminder that in the Patriot League, as is so clearly the case at Lehigh, we see athletics as integrated into the broader academic experience. All of this is happening at the same time that discussions of the value and role of higher education continue evolving. And in that context, I hope you saw that just a few weeks ago, in late May, Forbes awarded Lehigh a financial health grade of A+. I hope you know that's a good grade. It's an annual assessment in this year of the 928 private not-for-profit colleges with enrollment of more than 500 students, 928 of us in this country. Lehigh was one of 103 institutions that received an A+ grade. Roughly half of the institutions were graded C or below. Apropos of my point at the very beginning that there are institutions, many institutions, that are focusing on survival, Lehigh is thriving. And our last point, I will simply note that our recently completed economic impact study, conducted as part of our Future Makers strategy and released late last summer, found that Lehigh's operations, research, entrepreneurial efforts, visitor and student spending, together with volunteer activity in the community and the work our alumni are doing in the community as employees, contributes annually $1.4 billion in economic value to the Lehigh Valley economy. As the only research university in the growing Lehigh Valley, we're committed to being an engine for economic growth. Lehigh matters to the state, Lehigh matters to the country, and Lehigh absolutely matters to the Lehigh Valley, to this region on every dimension. So thank you all for being such important and connected alumni, families, and members of the Lehigh community. I hope your time here today and this weekend will give you a sense of why I feel so emphatically, why we feel that Lehigh is truly, truly thriving. This is our moment, but we can't stand still. We'll continue building our national and international recognition, drawing more students and faculty from across the nation, and continuing to invest in and work on research of immediate impact on big, complicated, messy problems that matter. You all know, as our alumni community, and I know myself as an alumnus, that there are so many ways to help this university advance, to join in. Spread the word. Be a great ambassador about the things you've heard today, the things you see this weekend, the things you know from reading our publications. Spread the word about the positive impact that Lehigh is having. Universities need to do a better job of reminding our nation of the vital importance of education, learning, and scholarly work done on our university campuses. We need to do a better job telling our story. Please help us in that regard. Mentor students. Stay in touch. Participate in programs. Follow us on social media. Come to events. Reunion, of course. Family and Founders Weekend. Lehigh Lafayette game, where bold prediction will beat Lafayette for the third consecutive year this fall. Right? Stay engaged. And please know, of course, that the most interesting and exciting things that universities can do can only be done through philanthropy, through the generous support of our community. So thank you again for attending. We and I are so excited by what Lehigh is doing today and where we are heading. Thanks for joining us, and I am happy to take any questions that may be on your mind. It's a small enough group. I will point to you from the stage. If I don't like the question, I'll defer it to one of my colleagues in the audience. We have microphones that are circulating. We'd ask that you use the microphone, and please introduce yourself, name, class year, and if you don't mind, where you came from to join us this weekend, where your home base is. Anyone? Any questions? Yes.
Ray Oberly, physics major, class of 56, so we're back here for 70 years.
Ray is a very active alum. I see Ray frequently. Yes. Welcome back,
and,
Ray.
I've mentioned the first time I've seen the president that I requested to have a new program added to his class schedule for all students, and it was the introduction of a 1-hour course for one semester on business planning and budgets. All of the people typically here that go to school are type A people. They're going to be an artist. They got to get money so that they can have paint to paint, rooms to live in, art galleries and stuff. You go to the bank, you need a business plan. Now, you may have remembered back, some of you may not be old enough to remember it, when we had this silicon boom out in California, and Wozniak and Gates and all those who was doing their stuff, a lot of companies went belly up. They were smart engineers and smart engineers running the company, coming out with all the stuff, but they went belly up because they did not have the cash to pay the bills. And that's what all the people need. So have you introduced anything similar to that with everything else you're trying to do?
So thank you, Ray, for the question. Thank you for being consistent in your interest over the years. So yes, and not in precisely the way you've prescribed, but yes, and. First, philosophically, I agree with you completely. That's why we speak about being deeply, even radically interdisciplinary. That's why it's at the core of this plan. That is why we have expanded our existing inter-college programs. That is why we have created this Explore Lehigh program. The goal we are building towards is to be a university where every student will access content from technology or engineering, from business, and from the arts and humanities as part of their education. So I don't remember if you used the word mandatory or not. I am not a big, okay, so thank you, because I'm generally not supportive of mandatory, but our faculty, including our faculty in business, are taking steps to build the programs that provide that education. And we have also, it's not exactly what you're asking for, but we've started 2 years ago. We have a program that's How Lehigh Works. It's a series of seminars, a couple of hours a week over the course of the academic year, open to staff, faculty, and students, that talks about the business of higher education. It's specific to Lehigh, but it's very much focused on resources, resource allocation, research utilization, making sure revenues and expenses are not out of whack with one another, which is essential whether you're paying the rent on your apartment or trying to run a business. So those are the steps we're taking. Thank you. Yes. Hand up in the back.
Yeah, Mike Pavlidis, class of 71.
Please use the microphone since we have people watching online.
Mike Pavlidis, class of 71. A lot of universities are saying that students that are entering the university have never even read a book cover to cover.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what are you seeing as far as the caliber of the students that you're seeing apply, even though you're pretty selective, I would imagine, but nonetheless, what is the caliber of the education from high school? The second question, follow-up, is Lehigh doing anything with local high schools and elementary schools and so forth to review how they're being taught and what they're being taught and the level at which they graduate?
So thank you. And so first, in terms of the incoming class, right, I'm going to look at the provost to fact check me, but at a high level, right, we are more and more selective by the year. Our students are extremely bright, hardworking, well-prepared. And at the same time, the trends you're seeing that are affecting higher education broadly are things that some of our faculty have expressed concern about. The story of, there was just a piece in, I'm trying to remember where I saw it, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, earlier this week, but talking about, it might have been the Atlantic, this issue in particular, the challenges of students coming to our universities not having read a full-length novel or I cannot sit down and read a book. We have not, to my knowledge, Nathan, asked our faculty to survey the students, but this is something that our faculty are very attentive to. Some of them think about accommodating and whether I'm going to make up a word, chunkify the assignments. Others are saying, you're here at Lehigh, this is what you will do, these are the materials for the course. And so through doing both, we are trying to bridge that gap. Am I concerned about education at the K-12 level in this country over time? Yes, we have challenges we need to address. That's an important one of them. Your question about partnering with local schools, I don't know, Nathan, I'm looking at you. I don't know that we engage directly on the curricular level. We do have a strong partnership with Brockle Middle School right here in town. We work closely with the Bethlehem Area School District and their high schools. I honestly don't know what conversations we've had, if any, about, or you want to hold up your hand and grab a microphone?
We do have faculty within the College of Ed who are working with school districts in a number of areas. Most recently, an AI tutor called Math Buddy, which is being rolled out within the Allentown School District in particular. I would say a lot of these are kind of smaller scale projects rather than, say, working with the whole district around curriculum, but it's a serious and intentional engagement. Beyond that, we run a school for individuals with pretty extreme behavioral problems called the Centennial School, which is located up by the airport. Our College of Education is deeply involved in education in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. That's important to note. Our College of Education being a graduate-only curriculum and college, partners deeply, perhaps the most extensively of all of our colleges, with the local community. And here it is very specifically the local educational community. Thank you. Any other questions? Here, okay, there's one in the middle, and then, so first in the middle, second here in the front row.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Falk. I graduated in 1986, and my class is here for our 40th reunion.
Welcome back, 40th reunion class.
Thank you. So, I am the parent of 3 20-something kids, and I agree that Lehigh prepares students well for business. One of the areas that I see that my kids are lacking is in managing their own personal finances. Is that an area that you see that Lehigh could contribute?
Yes, I'm sure we could. That's an interesting question. So I will not. So that it's an interesting question, and it's worthy of discussion. I do not. There are different ways we could approach that. I'm speaking in the spirit of working with an idea rather than committing to any faculty who are watching, rather than committing that our faculty will go down a certain path. That's not something that has to be done through the curriculum necessarily, but it's an interesting idea. Might there be a series of modules, a workshop, the 1 hour a week kind of idea? And it would only work if it were just in time, meaning over the last 2 months of your senior year, since you've got all this free time at that point in time, right? Spend an hour a week in a session like this for those who'd be interested. It's an interesting idea. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Linton, class of 03 computer science. I identify as being in recovery from addiction. And I was wondering, during my time, I didn't find many resources available for support for mental health and addiction, except for the failed Project Impact at the time. What kind of resources are available to students today, maybe encountering the same type of struggles I had when I went to school?
Yeah, thank you, Brian, and thanks for being open about the challenge. It's so considerable. I can't quote you a number, but I will give you some context and some stories. The first time I met with our undergraduate student senate as president in the fall of 2021, this is one of the things that they asked me about very directly. Would Lehigh continue to invest in counseling services that we have here on campus? Yes, we would. Would we invest in the use of these kinds of tools that can provide remote access for those who want to start to engage in this way? Not as a substitute, but as an additional tool. Yes, we would, and yes, we do. Do we have access to community resources that the students can access? Yes, we have significantly reduced wait time for students to see a counselor. We partner with counseling services in the College of Education, who oversees postdoctoral fellows, for example, who train as counselors here on campus. The question that always comes up is, and can more be done? Yes, the answer is more can always be done. But I'm quite confident that the resources we provide today are substantially beyond what was here when I was a student, or what you were here when you were here as a student, because it is something we speak about openly. The Health and Wellness Initiative, part of which I mentioned when I was speaking about Jeremy Gibson and what he's doing within athletics, there is a focus on wellness that we are being much more intentional about across the campus, including athletics, including our College of Health, including student affairs, to try and build out, I don't want to call them preventative measures, but thinking about the breadth of mental health challenges, health and wellness, and making sure our students have the abilities to engage, cope, and seek support exactly when they need it. So I can't quote you numbers, but I hope that gives you a sense of what we're doing to lean in very intentionally in this area. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions? There's a hand in the back row. What teamwork?
I'd stay to Zy for you. Jim Stewart, class of 76, came here from Yardley, Pennsylvania yesterday. Question, what % of applications are from foreign students, number one? And number two, has the recent governmental policies affected the application from foreign countries?
So yes, what percent, Nathan? What was the number this year? Yeah, so 20% roughly of our applicants were from, sorry? Yeah, this is undergraduate. Our graduate programs are different, but undergraduate, which is what I assumed you were asking, but it's an important distinction. About 20% this past year. That number did decrease this year, and it is something that was seen across the country. I don't know what percentage of our first year class this fall will be international students. We will not know until we take the census after the students arrive. But last year, was it 6%, Nathan, of our first year class, the class of 2029, are international. That is down a few percentage points from where it was a few years earlier. But we have been in the 6 to 8% range, roughly, for much of the past decade. For us, it's simply a shift in the demographics of the applicant pool. With 20,000 applications for 1,550 spots, we are choosing the best students from the entire applicant pool from across the nation, from across the globe. It doesn't impact us financially. It simply impacts the breadth of the global breadth of the community that we have. At the graduate level, it's more challenging in engineering nationally. A significant percentage of the graduate students are international, and colleges of business see this as well. There, it looks as if we will be flat relative to last year in terms of incoming student numbers. And given the challenges in the visa situation right now, that's actually a very positive outcome for us. Yeah, you can ask a follow-up.
One more question. This is my wife. She wants to know, do you have any statistics on the number of acceptances or students attending Lehigh that are homeschooled?
Yeah, it's not. I suspect that our Office of Admissions knows. I don't know. Nathan said the same. It's not something we track routinely. It's an interesting question. Thank you. Something to take a look at. Thank you. Yeah, here in the middle. Oh, okay. Microphone in the back, and then here in the middle. We have time for a few more questions.
Good morning. Fantastic speech. My name's Pete Whopper. I'm class of 2011. Do you have any intention of bringing back the President's Scholarship, which is the free fifth year? So you've got a lot of interdisciplinary programs, and I was a graduate of IBE, and the fifth year was instrumental in completing all the coursework. It was also a big draw to coming to Lehigh too. It's saying, if you work hard, you have the prospect of getting the fifth year free to finish the program.
Right. And Nathan, how many of those do we offer now? So it still exists, but the numbers, it had been blanket beforehand, and now it's competitive. The numbers are smaller. So we have roughly 10 of those in a year. And part of it is a decision to invest in a different range of programs right now. So the opportunity has not gone away, but the structure's changed. So it's competitive, and we're awarding about 10 a year. There's a hand here in the middle. Thank you.
Bill Williamson, class of 76. We talked about 20,000 folks applying for 1,550 slots. What about the percentage of kids that we accept who then accept us? And how do we have a sense of how that compares with other top-tier schools?
Yeah, these are things that we track. So first, Bill, since you're here as part of the 50th reunion class, I think you have the privilege this year of referring to yourself as a member of the great class of 1976, as every 50th reunion class should be designated. So those of you who have passed the 50th milestone, please know that I think of you in the same way. Those of you who have not yet achieved that milestone, remember that when you're back here for your 50th. So I haven't answered his question, so give me a second. I'm not a politician. I wasn't stonewalling. I will answer your question. So our admit rate, right? So the percentage of applicants that we admit has been in the 26 to 28% range, and so over a span of several years, this is the most competitive that Lehigh has been in our history. So roughly 1 in 4 applicants are offered admission. For me, that's, you look across the country, you see some institutions that have 5, 6, 7% admission rate. That, I think, changes the character of the community and of the applicant pool. What I love about numbers in the 25, 28% range is it says to talented students across the country, doesn't matter what undergraduate or extracurriculars you've been involved in, community service, what things your family's been able to give you access to. If you are a talented student who works hard and for whom Lehigh is a good fit, we will look at you seriously. You have a chance of gaining admission. Now, the question you were asking is on the yield piece, the second end of that. And Nathan, what were our numbers last year? Yeah, so in the 30-ish percentile range. So, which is, we look at it, we look at other institutions, and it is typical of institutions in our competitive peer set. So I'd love for it to be 100%, but it's going to take some work to get there. Yes.
Mark Rinaldi, class of 76, the great class again.
Thank you.
Great class again. Quite a few of us here today, clearly. I came now from Denver, Colorado, after living in the East Coast. I think I was the first of 8 Lehigh grads between my brothers and our kids.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I just have to ask this because I'm walking up the hill from Wilbur Mansion, and the community that I walked through, it looks about the same as it did 50 years ago, although it might have been better off then because at least they were Bethlehem Steel people working there at high-paid jobs. And it just always has irked me, like, why can't we get a better gentrification of this area and improve this specific area that we all have lived in for a period of time? It's very troubling to me. And also, we seem to perpetuate it because our kids end up living off campus in these terrible accommodations, you know. So I just wondered if anything we could do in that light.
So thank you for the question, and let me just offer, happy to talk to you about this further. I actually see it a little bit differently. When I was here as a student, right, the community was different, but it felt as if in many ways there was a wall between Lehigh and the surrounding community. It's a much more porous and collaborative environment right now. What used to be a railroad line that cuts across South Bethlehem, runs across New Street, is now a rail trail where you will find, it's where I lead students on runs every Tuesday morning. It's where you will see people from the local community walking their dogs, living. You will see, living along the Greenway, and you will see students out there as well. It is socioeconomically very diverse. But that, for me, is part of the vibrancy of Bethlehem. The crime rate in Bethlehem is among the lowest in the state for an urban area. In the city of Bethlehem, as our provost often notes, if you look at all of the former steel cities across the U.S., the city of Bethlehem is the only one that is at peak population now, right? Not in the 50s, not in the 70s, now. And so it is broadly socioeconomically diverse, including individuals who are living below the poverty line. And there is more of that on the south side than on the north side. But it's a safe, integrated, really diverse community. And Lehigh has partnered with them in the city in ways that I think are quite positive. And so I take your point, and I see Bethlehem a little bit differently, having had the advantage of living here 40 years ago and then seeing what's changed now. Your points about off-campus student housing, there is a range. Right? There is a range. 3/4 of our students live on campus. So about 75% of our students live on campus. And I was just, as I was saying to some of you beforehand, reading some old history that Catherine Drinker Bowen published in 1924 that I had not seen until I stumbled across it a few days ago. It's pretty much the same distribution as it was 100 years ago, about 3/4 of the students living on campus, the other quarter living in a range of accommodations around South Bethlehem. So thank you. We have time for one or two other quick questions, and I'll keep us on schedule and bring us to a close. Anyone else? We have a hand over here.
Hi, I'm Dylan Veach, class of 2016. Climate change was a problem that was really top of mind for me when I was applying to schools. I'm an environmental engineer. I received a presidential scholar, stayed for an extra year, got my master's in environmental engineering. I'm aware of the 2030 plan. Can you talk to how we're progressing versus those goals, and if Lehigh has any progress looking beyond that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. So we've not released or updated our plans since we released both our carbon plan and our broad sustainability goals 4 and 5 years ago. In terms of, right, so we are thinking, we continue to be attentive to the goals and making progress towards the goals. I cannot quote you a number. I'll turn to Nathan in a second to see if he can. But I'll give you an example. The buildings we're renovating, the buildings we are building, we are committed to building them to LEED standards. LEED Gold when we can, LEED Platinum if possible. The new residence halls, we are hopeful that we will achieve LEED Gold standard, and so we are focused on sustainability, energy consumption, and the commitments we made, including around climate, to be thinking about carbon and thinking about the impact of our choices on the environment. Is there anything quantitative you can add to that? So thank you. But it has not been forgotten. We remain attentive to those goals. So it is 11:30, so thank you all again for your engagement, for your questions, for your support, and welcome home. Welcome back to Lehigh.